The year is 1888. In London's East End, the district of Whitechapel is a labyrinth of poverty, shrouded in coal smoke and river fog. For its residents, fear is a constant companion. But in the autumn of this year, a new terror would descend upon the dimly lit alleyways, a phantom who would be given a name whispered in fear for centuries to come. This is where Whitechapel's darkest chapter begins. The terror began on August 31st with Mary Ann Nichols. Found in Bucks Row, she was the first of what would become known as the Canonical Five. 8 days later, Annie Chapman was discovered in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street. Her death was more brutal, suggesting the killer was not an opportunist, but a hunter. The night of September 30th marked a horrifying escalation in what became known as the double event. First, Elizabeth Stride was found in Dutfield's yard, her killer likely interrupted. Less than an hour later, the body of Catherine Eddowes was discovered in Mitre Square, her murder shockingly savage. The final canonical victim was Mary Jane Kelly. On November 9th, she was found in her small room at 13 Miller's Court. The brutality inflicted upon her was the most extreme of all, a gruesome finale that ensured the killer's legend would be one of pure butchery. 5 women, their lives extinguished, their identities forever bound to the monster who hunted them. At each crime scene, investigators were confronted with a chilling tableau of violence. The victims' throats were severed with deep, precise cuts. But it was the post-mortem mutilations that truly horrified the authorities. The killer displayed a degree of anatomical knowledge that was both perplexing and deeply disturbing. Organs were removed with a precision that suggested a steady hand and some understanding of human anatomy. With each murder, the mutilations grew more extensive. Annie Chapman's uterus was excised. From Catherine Eddowes, a kidney and part of her uterus were taken. The culmination saw Mary Jane Kelly dismembered almost beyond recognition. The killer left no fingerprints, no weapon, and only vague, contradictory witness accounts. He moved through the city like a ghost, leaving only butchery in his wake. As fear gripped London, the killer began to communicate. On September 27th, a letter arrived at the Central News Agency, written in red ink and taunting the police. The author gave himself a name that would become immortal, Jack the Ripper. Initially dismissed as a prank, the Dear Boss letter gained terrifying credibility 3 days later, when Catherine Eddowes was found with one earlobe partially severed, a detail the letter had threatened. A postcard, dubbed Saucy Jackie, followed on October 1st, referencing the double event. The press published facsimiles of the letters, and the name Jack the Ripper was now on everyone's lips, transforming a nameless horror into a tangible bogeyman. The most gruesome correspondence arrived on October 16th. George Lusk, head of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee, received a parcel containing half of a human kidney. The accompanying From Hell note claimed the sender had fried and eaten the other piece. Medical examination suggested it was consistent with the one taken from Catherine Eddowes. Though their authenticity is still debated, these letters cemented the Ripper's legend and turned the investigation into a public spectacle. The Metropolitan Police, led by men like Inspector Frederick Aberline, faced an unprecedented challenge. But they were fighting a war in the dark. The science of forensics was in its infancy. Fingerprinting was a new, untrusted technique, and DNA was more than a century away. Investigators were limited to witness sketches and basic autopsy reports. Police work relied on shoe leather and intuition. Officers interviewed thousands, but the transient nature of Whitechapel's population made the task nearly impossible. The killer could melt back into the anonymous crowds in an instant. Compounding the problem was the intense pressure from the press, which fueled the hysteria and criticized the police at every turn, hampering an already difficult investigation. In the absence of evidence, suspicion fell far and wide. The killer's apparent surgical skill led many to believe he was a doctor or a surgeon. Local butchers and slaughterhouse workers also came under scrutiny. Xenophobia ran rampant, with suspicion falling on Jewish immigrants and other foreigners, fueled by prejudice and fear of the unknown. The police files swelled with names. Montague John Druitt, a barrister whose body was found in the Thames after the last murder, was a prime suspect for senior police. Inspector Aberline favoured Severin Klosowski, a Polish immigrant who had poisoned 3 of his wives. Others included Michael Ostrog, a Russian con man, and John Pizer, a local bootmaker. But for every suspect there was a missing piece, a solid alibi, or a profile that didn't quite fit. The net was cast wide, but the Ripper remained elusive. Over a century later, the hunt continues in laboratories and archives. The most tantalizing modern tool is DNA analysis. In 2014, a shawl said to have been found near Catherine Eddowes' body made headlines. DNA extracted from it was claimed to be a match to both Eddowes' descendants and those of a key suspect, Aaron Kosminski, a Polish hairdresser who lived in Whitechapel and suffered from mental illness. The Kosminski hypothesis is far from universally accepted. Critics have questioned the shawl's provenance and the testing methodology. The results remain controversial. Other theories have emerged from rediscovered documents like the diary of James Maybrick, which contains a supposed confession. But like the DNA evidence, its authenticity is hotly contested. Technology has yet to provide the final, irrefutable answer. One of the most powerful modern tools is geographic profiling. By analyzing the spatial patterns of the crimes, profilers can make educated guesses about the killer's comfort zone. The 5 canonical murders occurred within less than 1 square mile. This tight cluster strongly suggests the killer was a local who knew the labyrinthine streets of Whitechapel intimately, the police beat routes, the quiet courtyards, and the quickest escape paths. This analysis supports suspects like Aaron Kosminski, who lived in the heart of this zone. The Ripper was not an outsider. He was part of the fabric of the neighborhood. He was a marauder who operated from a stable home base, striking close by before retreating to safety. This highlights how the killer used the geography of Whitechapel as a weapon, a predator who had mastered his hunting ground, hidden in plain sight. Jack the Ripper was more than a murderer. He was the genesis of a cultural phenomenon. He became the star of penny dreadfuls, cheap publications that fed the public's morbid curiosity. He was arguably the world's first celebrity serial killer, his deeds transforming him into a dark, romantic myth. A gentleman phantom in a top hat and cloak, gliding through the London fog. Over the decades, the Ripper has spawned an entire industry of books, films, and tourism. This enduring fascination raises ethical questions. In our obsession with the killer, have we forgotten his victims? Polly, Annie, Elizabeth, Catherine, and Mary Jane were real women whose tragic lives ended in the most horrific way. The Ripper's legacy is a chilling reminder of our fascination with the darkness that can lie within the human soul. Over a century has passed since the Autumn of Terror. The gas lamps are gone, but the shadow of Jack the Ripper still lingers. The case remains officially unsolved, a grand Gothic puzzle box with no key. The questions still outnumber the answers. Who was he? Why did he kill? And why did he stop? The Ripper case was a crucible for modern policing, highlighting the desperate need for forensic science. He was a monster born from the poverty and anonymity of Victorian London. But the story endures because it speaks to a timeless fear, the fear of the unknown, of the enemy who walks among us, hidden behind a mask of normalcy. The identity of the man himself may be lost to history. We may never know his name, but the legend he created continues to hunt us, a chilling testament to a mystery that refuses to die.